Hello and welcome back. I'm Demis Hellen and this is the final episode in my Cubase series, and we're going to be taking a look at mixing. Mixing in Cubase is really easy when it comes to using the mixer over the arrange page. We can have them set out in two different ways, so it makes more sense for arranging and production, but then on the mixer it makes more sense for mixing and mastering. So if we go back to this main page, we can see we've got a folder synths and pads. If we open up synths and pads, we've got all of our synths and all of our pads. And then at the bottom of here, we have a grey grouping, which I leave grey so I can see exactly where they are. Pads, piano, group. So everything is located in the same folder and I can see everything in that folder is in that group channel. So it makes a lot of sense there. But when it comes to the mixer, it doesn't make too much sense in the terms of where we're going to have things. So if we go back into the mixer, you can see everything's down at the right-hand side. Now, if I had, say, this section here, pads and piano, all that section there, green and blue, in the actual folder, it's after that one. So it'd be here where this pink channel is. And it gets confusing when you're trying to locate your group channels for mixing. Now, if you take a look over here, we have them all grouped to the right. And we can simply do that by activating this tab up here if you do not have it already on. And if you click that, you'll see this left pane. In the pane, we have a series of tabs at the top. If you click visibility and then zones at the bottom, we are presented with these dots. So at the moment, they're packed away into folders, but you can see here we've got these dots. Some are down the middle, some are to the right. So that means that we can set left, middle, and right on the mixer. So you can see there's a gap here on my mixer between the middle and the right. And then the same over on the left, you can see there's a gap, just a little gap there between what's on the left and right. So any inputs kind of go on the left, main tracks in the middle, groupings on the right hand side, including the master out. And it makes more sense because you can come in and tweak things really quickly without having to scroll around in that middle section. Because as you can see, there's a few tracks in there. So all you have to do is click these dots and you can see the grouping is selected on the right. I can put it back here. You can see now it's back where it is on the arranger page, but I don't want it there. I want to assign it to the right hand side so I can see all of my groupings in one place when it comes to that final mix. So jumping out of that, let's take a look at what we are doing to mix, and that's using pink noise. Now, pink noise doesn't always work, or a lot of people don't like pink noise for mixing, but for this track, it worked really well. And the way that we mix with pink noise is conforming to that shape by bringing up the mixer, playing each sound soloed individually and bringing them up till you can just about hear them over that white noise. So it's quite a tedious process. It does yield good results. It's not always perfect every time, but for this track, it worked really nicely. You can do certain things like with the kick and bass, I just bring them up a little bit more so I can hear them a bit more prominent, just to give the whole track a little bit more weight and heaviness. So if we take a look at what we're doing for pink noise, we've got this track here called Pink Mixing, and all I have on this audio track is the test generator set to -9 dB and pink noise. So I mix at -9, some people do -12, -6. It's entirely up to you how you do it. You'll have your own reasons, but I use that number, and that is why pink noise is on. So to set this up in Cubase, just set up an audio track and then add a test generator to your inserts and then select pink noise and you'll have pink noise. I set mine to -9 dB, so that is what I mix at, but some of you may mix at -12 or -6. It's entirely up to you how you set it up, but you can do it there. And that way we'll have a blanket of pink noise and we can then mix our tracks individually. So I'll quickly show you using the vocal and a kick drum so you can just hear some of the obvious ones. Warning, turn the headphones down. I'll reduce the audio in the video a little bit, but it is a little bit tedious. So I'll turn it off and on a few times so you can hear where the kick is coming through and the vocal. So let's start with the kick, and warning, pink noise is coming on now. So hopefully you could hear a little bit of that. It is really intense and it's a struggle for me to focus sometimes on the sound whilst trying to narrate my way through this, but you get the idea. You could just hear the kick coming through, you could just hear the vocal coming through, but like I said, I tend to sort of like bias vocals sometimes, but more so the kick and the bass to come through. And that's the same for every single track throughout the mix. Then once you've got your balanced mix, we can move on to the groupings here, and we can then use these to rebalance the track as well. So we can bring them from a lower portion, bring them up. And we can use pink noise again if you want to, but I sort of bring it now to a level based on those levels where I think everything sits. So you can see I'll go through using the kick and the bass, then I'll bring in the percussion, and then I'll bring in sort of the other elements that add warmth into it, like the pads, and then sort of effects and things after that. So you can see I've done a basic mix there. And if we just bypass all of these, so supervisions are not doing anything to the sound, but bypass my sort of mastering chain. We've got a lovely vibe, a lovely mix, clean. We can hear everything across the board, and that pink noise has done wonders. Now that we understand the mixing a little bit more and how I did that, we're going to turn our attention to the mastering. And you can see 3 plugins is all I've got on that channel, and that is to keep it nice and simple, keep that simplicity theme going through. And it's very capable of doing this in Cubase 12. We've got a studio EQ, a tube compressor, and then Razor, which then obviously helps bring it right up without any sort of digital distortion. So let's look at the EQ first. Let's bring this over here. We can see, again, we're going very gentle on these boosts. You can see there's a 2, a 1.2, a 0.7, and a 5.8 on the top, just to sort of like bring out some of the brightness. But you can see very little tweaks that are happening in this stage. So let's listen to this off, and I'll turn it on. So very minimal tweaks, but I'm just adding a little bit of punch into the low end, just sort of like really bringing it out. And then the same with the sort of mid area and the upper mids. I'm just bringing a little bit of that out to make the piano pop a little bit more. And again, sort of like the bottle and everything in there, just to sort of like bring it back out of the mix. And then through that, we go to a tube compressor. And you can see here, I've set this as kerosene settings, and it is really just like a classic mastering. So based on the mastering patch that comes with this, if we just scroll there, master bus, it's roughly similar to that. It's a little bit different, but we're using some of the same ideas. We're using a fast attack, slower release, or slower release, and we're sort of really not trying to get any gain reduction at all, but just to glue it together and be very gentle about everything. And Tube Compressor does a fantastic job of this. So listen to how it brings the piano out of the depths and just really pushes it up to the front of the track. It just gives it more presence. So the tube compressor is doing very minimal work, but it's bringing out the hats really well. It's bringing out the piano really well, and it's just controlling those lower frequencies as well. So it just helps to gel everything together in a very similar way that I did with the bus tracks, of gelling everything together to make that reverb really sort of blend over everything. We're doing this, but on a very sort of like more reduced scale rather than going over the top with it. And finally, we have Razor, which is a newer plugin, a new addition to Cubase, and it's probably one of my favorite plugins because you get a nice visual representation and we've got some easy controls. So we have the input, we have the release and the output controls, and then you can see the amount of reduction that's happening there, and you can see a visual representation of your track and how much it's boosted and how much is being reduced depending on how far you've pushed it. So with Razor, you get a good idea of how the track looks and what's actually coming through. Now you can see the vocal triggered that quite a lot in terms of the reduction, and that's because we changed one of the presets round. So we changed one of the plugins round, sorry, which has altered the volume level. So I'm going to have to go back in and just balance that, but you get the idea. That has then control over the track, and anything that kind of goes rogue, it brings down without making it really obvious. So you can see it gives you a nice overview of your track, and it lets you know what's kind of coming through the mix and if it's a little bit too harsh. And you can see about 11.2 is working fine there. The vocals are cutting through a little bit too much, and that is because I think in one of the earlier episodes I adjusted the volume level and didn't put it back where it actually was. So I'll go back to the pink mixing stage and rebalance that. That's no problem. But you can see we always come up with these little issues here and there. But with that, we might be able to just push Razor a little bit further and get a nice balanced mix out of there. And you can see it delivers wonderful results as well. So if we just get rid of that chain and listen to the before and after again. So I just wanted to show you those two just before we finish up, on and off whilst it was playing. You can hear how much they contribute, because earlier it didn't sound like you could hear much, but then when you hear it in context with Razor and the full volume, you can hear that this adds enough warmth and just punch in the right areas for the compressor to pick up and really bring them out of the track. And that tube compressor sounds really good on this final mix. So there we are. That brings us to the end of this episode and the series. Hopefully you've gained some new knowledge that you can apply into your own productions, whether it's certain plugins or workflows. Hopefully you can move forward with some new ideas. And with that said, I'm Demis Hellen. That was my track Kerosene, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. Take care.